seems, wants to live a long life, but few people, it seems, want to get older. A comment often heard around birthdays is that, "I hate getting older, but it beats the alternative." In our culture, aging is often thought of as a time of decline and loss, something to be avoided if at all possible. Loss, change, and transition are an unavoidable part of life at all stages from birth to death, but these need not define our total aging experience. Another way of thinking about aging is in terms of inner growth, personal fulfillment, and a focus on others. The catalyst for these changes can be found in the notion of living with intention and with gratitude. What if instead of aging by accident, we were to age with intention, with purpose? What if instead of thinking of ourselves as victims of aging, we grew older with gratitude? What if instead of self-centeredness in old age, we looked for ways to lift up others? These things are all possible if we focus on our inner aging more than the outward signs of aging. Aging can be a time of many blessings, deep fulfillment, and loving kindness toward others, if only we choose to make it so. On behalf of the FCC Elder Council, I wish you many blessings and much gratitude at all stages along your personal journey through life.
I will be 80 in December. Looking back on my life, I can tell you that I grew up underprivileged, which slowed me down a little but didn't really hurt much. My siblings and I didn't receive much direction from our parents, but they did teach us to stay out of trouble, have empathy for other people, be honest, work hard, and attend church. As life went along, I made many wrong decisions, and of course I learned from them. Yes, I worked hard. I was a jack of all trades and master of none. But I enjoyed all the jobs I had because I love working with people and being of service to others. After retiring at age 65, I found several part-time jobs, some volunteer and some paid. I worked until I was 75. I love working and being active. Lessons to pass on are follow your passion, work hard, don't be judgmental, and live each day with Jesus in your heart, and you will be a happy, loving person.
I'd like to just say a word about grief in the lives of your loved ones. Oftentimes, especially adults, we mask our feelings of grief, and I think it's important for young people to be sensitive to the fact that we could be eating out our insides and feeling very, very bad over the loss of a loved one. And so you can help us get through this with your kind words of understanding, or if the person doesn't particularly want to discuss grief, you can send them a note or maybe a text, and just make them feel a little better about things. Because as an older person, we don't necessarily get rid of the grief or outlive it, but we learn to live with it better. And with your understanding, it'll just make us feel a lot better.
I've had a very good life, and in thinking about what made my life full and meaningful, it seems it's very simple. My advice to younger folks is simply be kind to other people. When you need their help, ask them for help. When they give you help, thank them for their help. And when they need help, help them in return.
I'm going to be 90 years old this week. And on one of my birthdays, my beloved Don gave me this necklace, which has a haiku engraved on the back. Deftly the new moon brushes a silver haiku on the tips of waves. Now that I've reached my 90th year, I've resolved to spend less time getting organized, accomplishing myriad tasks, and more time noticing, enjoying moonlight on ocean waves, the brilliant colors of autumn leaves, the feel of sunlight on my face, and the smell of coffee brewing on a crisp fall morning.
I have found that I experience God through other people, generally through their love. And when I experience that, I know that God is alive. So I have to welcome other people into my life, or God goes missing. So, my advice to anyone is look for God in the person in front of you. And chances are, that's the best place to find them.
I think what I know is that I still need to learn a whole lot more. So I keep coming here, seeking to find whatever it is that I need to know. And I think answers will come helping when I'm here.
I'm one in favor of seeking. However, when I came here, I felt as if I had come home. I found a community of faith where it's accepted and encouraged to question. Not having answers is no problem. That's great. And to hear God is still speaking is wonderful encouragement to question and to listen. The answers are there. There'll be more questions, but there are answers.
I grew up here in the church and owe a lot to it and all the people that I've come in contact to. I was on the East Coast for a number of years and came back, and what keeps me grounded within the church is my upbringing here, as well as my involvement with a number of the different groups within the church, meeting people as I do. But also there's got to be a giving back, and I get the most from seeing everyone come in every Sunday and participating. But also I feel that I must learn more, so I learn from the different educational groups, and then I can share that with other people. But it keeps me informed and grounded. I thank you for that.
I don't know where I learned this, probably from my parents, probably from my church growing up, or maybe it was from the Oregon Ducks. But I think one of the most important things in life is to always do what you're doing to the best of your ability. My dad used to always tell me, if it's worth doing once, it's worth doing right. And I think that's a good way to deal with whole life.
Well, my advice is to do as much as you can while you can, and try and do things the right way, and do his best for yourself and for the world. And I don't know, I'm taking joy as much as I can while I can. That's simple. It's that simple. And I've been enjoying life quite a bit. I use the bicycle quite a bit, as much as I could, and I can't do it anymore. But I just use the bicycle and get around, get me moving, and that's what kept me going, and I just do it.
One of the most important things in my life happened when I was about 14. And I was living in Cottage Grove and was in high school. And my folks needed to move to a different area because that was during the Depression. And I belonged to the Presbyterian church there. And the minister and his wife didn't have any children, so they invited me to live with them for the balance of that year. And that time I spent with them really made my faith much stronger, and I learned a great deal about God.
My inspiration in life really comes from my parents, my mom and my dad. They were always supportive and loving. we were not a church family, but I always had a kind of need for a community of faith. And as I grew older, I found that. And for many years, I enjoyed participating in Presbyterian Church at various levels, learned a great deal from friends and clergy in those churches, and found myself building a stronger faith. And my advice to others, or the younger generation as they grow up, is that this sense of community, the sense of being together with others who have this need and this feeling and this desire to worship God, is a really important thing in one's life.
I have the same wishes that my wife does about the church, and my family, when I grew up, they were very supportive, and my dad worked hard all his life, and so I do that within the church, and we're past Presbyterians for probably 20 or 30 years, and came to UCC because we changed our location in life, and we really enjoy it here very much.
Throughout my life, I think, or especially in my middle years, and along with my husband, we liked to acquire nice things. We weren't terribly materialistic, but, shopping was a fun experience and something that would enhance our lives. But now that I am older, I would like to caution people that some of these things, think twice about some of these things, even souvenirs from trips, because there'll be a time when they kind of overwhelm you and you don't know what you're going to do with them. If it turns out your family doesn't treasure the meaning behind them, you just have to pass them on, and that's possible too, but it can be a laborious process if you acquire too many things.
I have been working with the homeless children throughout the world for over 55 years. And for me to do that work was inspired by, of course, my grandfather, who was a missionary and worked all his life propagating Christianity. Then, of course, my parents. My father was a minister and my mother was a wonderful supporter of that, my father's work. And that built my basic character and made a foundation and inspired for me to do that work. But in my work, I also met a wonderful person named Harry Hope, almost with the same deep faith in God like my grandfather. So I was fortunate to have these people to inspire me.
One of the greatest joys in my life is giving. And a lot of people, especially young people, think that giving in terms of stuff. And that's not exactly what I mean. But although I do love to cook and bake and share those kinds of things with people, I think that's hopefully an act of generosity and love. In terms of giving yourself is your time and your energy and your smiles can just make such a difference to people who need that sort of encouragement or validation. Taking time to listen is important, and being able to make a difference is such a privilege in my life.
When you get discouraged or disappointed, feels like it's the end of your life, don't give up. God has a purpose, because when you're failing and you're let down, He was a training and preparing you for the stronger, better life ahead of you. So trust God in God and don't get disappointed. To pursue your goal in prayers.
My parents meant so much to me. I kind of followed in their footsteps in more ways than one. And My mother taught Sunday school, and we were fortunate to have a community church just a block down the street, and we're a part of that all of the years growing up. So there were a tremendous number of friends and involved, and I'm sure that all of the Sunday school classes and church and ministers had a real profound effect on it.
I think there are 3 questions in life that we need to live through, meaning they are ongoing questions that we sense in our hearts, not in our minds. I see our heart as the tuner, the receiver of the messages from our higher power, and our mind is simply the interpreter. Those 3 questions are, who am I? Who am I with? And where am I going? And for me, what has worked best in answering those questions is prayer and meditation, and to make that a daily practice. It was through this church that I was introduced to the idea of creating a sacred space in my home for doing that. And it has helped me so much to get through so many of my life issues that I highly recommend it.
I would say, do what you want to do. Do it with all your heart. And do it with a lot of pizzazz and flair. And keep doing it. And keep doing it. And keep doing it. Let one thing take you to the next and the next and the next and the next until you're joyful and free.